Hey, what's up, everybody? So, the new Robert Eggers movie, The Northman, has landed, and you got myself, Rene, and Blake the Wolf here to talk about The Northman. What's going on, Blake?
Rene, today you shall call me the Slaughter Wolf. If you haven't seen this movie, you won't get that reference, but that is who I am today. And I take upon my identity to conquer and avenge all of my haters in the comments section. What up, Rene? How's it going?
Nice. I love it. No, I'm excited. I'm great. This review is for Valhalla. I tell you that much. Like, we're doing it for Valhalla. But yeah, excited to talk about this movie because I do really like this director for many reasons. But if you're not familiar with us, we are the MovieTime duo here. We do a movie talk podcast every week where we kind of do reviews or just talk about movies in general, bullshit with two buds. So again, if you like what you see, subscribe, thumbs up, like, follow, all that good YouTube schmeal and all that stuff like that. And then audio formats are available on your podcast platform of choice under the LOWKEY GEEK channel. So without further ado, let's talk about The Northman. So this is, I believe, his Robert Eggers' third movie that he's directed. Definitely one of the movies with a bigger budget. He definitely has given a lot more budget on this one compared to, The Vitch. I like to call it The VVitch, and then The Lighthouse, which are two great movies. Arguably, I think it's safe to say that the VVitch helped kind of initially put A24 on the map because it was one of their earlier movies that came out that kind of like got people's attention and like different types of movie making that's available out there and more unique voices and visuals to be seen for sure. But just for initial thoughts, I mean, why don't we give like a quick score of what or at least our thought of the movie? Thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever the case is. What do you think of The Northman?
Rene, thumbs up.
Yes. Yes. Love to hear it.
Five-star.
Love to hear it.
I saw it last night and I biked home with more adrenaline than I have felt in a long time. I felt like I had a purpose in my life, and that movie was amazing. Loved it. Robert Eggers is not always for me. Even the other two movies aren't necessarily my cup of tea. Loved The
Yeah.
Lighthouse. Not detracting that. Didn't see The Witch. That's not my genre. Can't take it. This one I was honestly concerned. Like, I'm gonna be coming in here shaking like, dude, that was amazing.
Yeah.
I was moved. A24 doing a popcorn movie is my new favorite thing on this planet. We'll talk about a couple. We're not doing, or sorry, not A24.
Yeah. It's a Focus. This is Focus
Yes.
Features. Yeah.
Indie directors doing popcorn movies is my new favorite thing. Someone who before has done a little small indie movie that is my cup of tea normally. And I also like a good blockbuster. Everything Everywhere All at Once and was so good. We talked about that a lot. Check out that episode.
Yeah.
This one hit on such a level of give someone who's an artistic master craftsman the helm, and I ate it up the entire time. I was entertained as hell and blown away by just how good and cool the movie it was.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's nice to see how these small indie directors, once giving a little bit more support, budget, resources, all that stuff like that, what they can do. Because I mean, eventually, this is a territory that they would like to strive for, right? To give them more of a chance to express their visual storytelling, their overall narrative, and everything like that. We saw it with the Eternals, right, with Chloe Zhao, being able to come from Nomadland and then jump right into like a big blockbuster Marvel film right now. Now, we're not saying, or at least I'm not saying, that this is at that level, because I think a lot of people would still consider this to be somewhat of an indie-like movie, because it's not really meant to be your blockbuster summer movie, but it does have a lot of moments that do kind of like lean towards that. The great thing about Robert Eggers, I think a lot of people, if you're not familiar with, should be aware of, is visually. The cinematography in his movies are stunning and breathtaking. Like the VVitch, even though it may not be for everybody, visually it was phenomenal, and it was like really great to watch. And then we saw it again with The Lighthouse, the usage of the black and white film, the usage of like, the old aspect ratio and everything like that, and not a lot of special effects, and being able to use a lot of practical stuff mixed in with whenever the special effects is needed. This movie definitely like leans a lot more towards special effects in certain parts, but you still feel the rawness of the practical effects and the practical action. There's this one amazing shot of when you see Alexander Skarsgård's character, Amleth, when he's already all grown up, and they're raiding a village, and it's a great one shot. It starts with him scaling the fence, going out, and you just see all the battle, like just like all around you, and not once does the camera ever cut, and it's just fantastically done. I'm a sucker for like one shots like that, and I just fell in love with that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I'm glad you're talking about that, because you're right on the crafts. This director, awesome, great work in the past. I also don't want to lose the way that the director used the crafts to make a badass, sick movie that made me feel intensely. And it honestly wasn't too different of a heart-pounding adrenaline rush as Ambulance, the Michael Bay movie we saw recently. But it's a totally, totally different style and like totally different world. The fact that they're doing with no guns, no explosions. Fire had recently been invented. I don't know the timeline.
You're right.
But that they're doing such heart-pounding action. I love that. The person sitting next to me, who happened to look a lot like Anya Taylor-Joy, it was just like random human next to me in the theater, and I actually like did a double take. Like, wait, is that? There's no way, right? At the Alamo here in the city. She literally is pumping her fists throughout the movie. I don't know I think, because there's a few times they made a reference to Viking culture that she like super got into, or like cheered when they mentioned a sword name or something. I don't know. I do not know the backstory of all this. I do know that a stranger pumping their fist next to me and me pumping my fist at the same time is an awesome feeling. Anytime I have that, the rest of the theater, I can't say it was necessarily everyone's cup of tea. I don't know that everyone had as great of a time. There's one moment in particular, which I don't know if we're at spoilers yet. I'll mention it then. There's one moment in particular where I literally started laughing it's like the awkward Tarantino, too much violence, this is crazy, I can't believe I'm looking at this laugh of like, oh my gosh, this is over the top. So overall, if somebody hasn't seen it yet, my recommendation, if they enjoy this type of like, if they're not turned off by the Viking vengeance and protecting his bloodline, overturning, crossing a continent, doing everything in his power in bloodlust to restore order to his family's name, that kind of story. There's a love story happening. I don't think there's much comedy other than like a few awkward laughs, or like not even awkward, just like intense. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm watching this laughs. It's not that hardcore Viking action sweetness. The movies I'm thinking of off the top are The Green Knight and Macbeth. More action than both of those. Hardcore, way more a shirtless man with blood-soaked chest and beard holding a giant sword who just messed some people up in a wild way. Those movies didn't really have that, so add that though. But the style, the tone, things like that. If that's not a turnoff, I think someone's going to love this movie. I know as soon as it ended, I called a buddy and I called my brother and said, "You got to go see this ASAP. This is a movie for you." I'm hyped about it still, as you can tell.
Yeah, no, it definitely was a lot of fun and definitely like a huge adrenaline rush through most of the movie. Talking about the story in itself, basically, it's a story not very new. I mean, we've seen movies with similar storylines where, you have this family and then like bloodline and trying to teach the king's trying to teach the son the ways and like to eventually take over. Something bad happens, the father dies because of some double cross or just greed of power. The son grows up wanting to revenge his family and everything like that, and that's basically the whole story. This one thing about Eggers too is that he loves using a lot of folklore, mythology, and all that kind of stuff like that. And this one definitely heavily focuses on the Norse mythology. So there are a lot of references to Odin and Valkyries and all that kind of stuff like that, which do play a lot within the storylines, which I do love. I love that stuff, and it's always very fascinating. But when it comes to the actual movie in itself, it's definitely dark, gritty, very bloody at times, right? But like you said, there are different storylines there. There is a romance that buds between two of the main characters, between Skarsgård and Anya Taylor-Joy, and then there's also a lot of mysticism. There's like witches involved and seers and all that stuff like that. Stuff that you would find in your typical fantasy slash sword and shield or sand and sandal type of movie, right? Which is something that we don't get a lot of these days. But this version is a little bit more refreshing because of how raw it is. It's like very raw. Like in a way, it kind of almost reminded me like growing up and when I used to watch like Hercules or Conan, especially Conan, with how gritty that was for the time, how bloody it was. And almost like a similar type of storyline too, where Conan was just growing up to avenge the death of his family and all that stuff. So we do get a lot of that here. And I think for the newer audiences who, maybe they've watched Vikings on Netflix or whatever the case is, like this will be like probably right up their alley. But for those who are more into like the Lord of the Rings or maybe like Wheel of Time on Amazon, like this might not be in their wheelhouse because this is definitely more on the rawer, grittier side of things, for sure. But it's still, regardless, I enjoyed a lot of it. And I thought, just the way, again, I can't mention enough, the cinematography, the way, the usage of light and dark, especially since a lot of the stuff happens at night, and the contrast between how certain things would be lit up with the fire and not knowing exactly what's around the corner sometimes. Like, I do love that. The audio, the audio aspects were also pretty well done. Not much to be said, I think, in my opinion, about the score of this movie, per se, but definitely had its moments where it kind of like pumped you up, where like when something's about to happen or when certain things are going down, right? So I don't know how you felt about that.
Listening to an interview with the director last night, and they talked about how in this movie that's roughly, I want to say 2 hours, 12 minutes off the top, and there's 2 hours of score in it. And
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, I don't disagree. I wasn't blown away by like the music quality. I don't think I'm going to play it unless I just like need to train for a marathon
Yeah.
or just like want to keep myself up all night and not sleep. It was basically just drumming. The composer said something along the lines of, now that we're done with this, I never want to hear another drum for the rest of my life, which coming from a musician is hilarious.
Right.
It was effective in my mind. I don't think I would be buying the album and playing it for funsies.
Right.
I do think it was very effective and cool and over the top. It did its job, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, for sure. Let's talk about the acting. So, like you have a lot of big names and people who've actually worked with Eggers before. So, Anya Taylor-Joy teams up with him again. Willem Dafoe, who we already saw in The Lighthouse prior and all that. But, you have Nicole Kidman, who plays the Queen in this movie, and I would say probably my favorite role of hers in most recent years. I thought she actually did a really good job. And maybe it's because she wasn't on screen a lot most of the time. And her character kind of started one way and then kind of did a little switch towards the end, which was a little bit
Oh, are we doing
unexpected.
spoilers yet?
You know what? Let's just go into it. Let's
Well,
just dive in. Spoilers, you know, again, our overall thoughts of the movie, you could see that we really enjoyed it. We gave you the reasons basically why you may like it or may not like it, right? It's really up to what your tolerance level for this type of storytelling is. But it is a movie I would say you should check out if you're just into the craft of movie making, because this is a very well done, put together movie. And since we're going into acting right now, the acting across the board is pretty well done. Like I can't say that there was like one person that phoned it in or anything like that. I think for this crop of talent that they have here, they did an excellent job throughout the whole film. And the only other thing I'll say is that for Alexander Skarsgård, who after True Blood has kind of iffy roles here and there, this is probably my most favorite role of his outside of, you know, the True Blood franchise. But maybe it's also because his dialogue was cut very short and very like poignant in a way. But he embodied the whole Viking revenge mentality, right? And he was just like brutal and, you know, very, very focused. And I just thought like he did such a brilliant job in it all. So yeah, so I guess now going into more spoiler talk. Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying this episode so far, but before we continue, I wanted to quickly talk about Bulletproof Coffee. Bulletproof Coffee is my favorite coffee of choice to start off my mornings with. Why? Because it's clean coffee. What does that mean? Well, one, there are no chemicals in it. Why? Because they go through this multi-step process of making sure that all of their beans are fully clean and free of any chemicals, so that when you get the beans delivered to you, it is the pure beans, the pure coffee, the goodness that you've been wanting, the taste, the flavor, and the nutritional value as well, without worrying about any added chemicals or anything else put into the mix there. It also doesn't have that weird acidic taste that some coffees give you. I don't know how about you, but for me, some coffees kind of give me that weird sensation in my stomach, makes me a little burpy, and it kind of drags me down a little bit instead of really waking me up, which is something that I need from my coffee every day. Bulletproof also offers a lot of keto-friendly snacks and supplements, anything that you need to kind of add to your everyday nutritional needs, add to your diet, and make you, and pretty much transforms the way you feel every day. So for a limited time, if you use this code on that you see on the screen right now, LOWKEY GEEK, all caps, one word, you can get 15% off your order. So what is it better than that, right? Check out the link in the description of this episode. Use this code, get yourself your discount, and make your mornings a little bit more bulletproof with Bulletproof Coffee. Now, back to the episode. You know, Nicole Kidman's character basically, you know, started off as, you think, a victim, right, along with the death of the father, who was portrayed by Ethan Hawke, who I also, for the amount of screen time he had, I thought he did a pretty good job as well. But with the huge switch at the end of you, the audience, realizing as she's narrating her reasonings behind all this, that she actually preferred it this way. And, you know, she wasn't happy with the king, and she actually begged his brother to kill him and take over so that she could be with him, because he paid more attention to her than Ethan did, right?
Did you? Yeah, we don't need to get into huge back and forth. Do you believe that speech that she gave? Because I, up until that point, thought she was a victim.
Mm-hmm.
And while she's giving the speech, I would go, "Oh, holy shit, this is a turn." I'm actually not 100%. I still, and it is clear from what she said, she believes. Like
Yeah.
it was clear based on the text. He says, "Nope, I was a victim of your father, the one who got
Right.
killed, and I conspired." I also thought maybe she just had a turn of, it was a strategic move to say this to him,
Mm-hmm.
thinking, "You're going against the leader that I have right now. I don't think you're going to win. I'm instead going to try to get in your head." And she does a pretty good job, because after that, she's messed with him. He is possessed, and he makes some bad choices after that for the first time in a while. So
Sure.
you almost think, okay, I have a kid with this guy. I'm siding with him. I don't know if there was enough context clues outside of her speech that says, "Oh, we actually did learn Ethan Hawke's character was a bad guy," or that the uncle was the good guy. it did make things a lot much more interesting and kind of like nihilistic of who's good, who's bad. Has this guy been wasting his entire life on vengeance? The movie does a good job of asking the question: are vengeance movies great? Like, is it a great idea to do vengeance? Not like, what is justice? You've been wrong. Congratulations, that because of your wrong, someone else got right. Like, it does a good job of doing that without getting too philosophical. But
Right.
I'll just say it for myself. I'm not totally sure that Nicole Kidman's character, that she was telling the truth, and I think it was a strategic ploy that worked. I don't know that we'll necessarily know what's going on in a
Hmm.
character's head when they don't get to say it out loud. But
Right.
that was just my 2 cents there. It was a good
No,
twist, though. It threw me for sure.
yeah, it's yeah, interesting point from your end too. Like it's not something that I actually asked myself, but now hearing you kind of pose that type of question, it does make me kind of try to think back and see like, okay, was this, like you said, was it a more strategic ploy on her part, and everything like that? However, this type of twist is very Shakespearean in a way, where it's just like, you know, you're this boy who grew up with all this rage in him and wanting to correct the wrong and get his family back together, at the end of the day did not have the full story, right? And found out, and that maybe why he had so much conflict and made all the wrong decisions at the end was because of that. You know, as it's finally unveiled in front of him, as he's being told by the main source, his own mom, saying, no, you're wrong, like I wanted this to happen, you know, and you were just, you know, a victim in the whole circumstance of what I really wanted out of things, right? And it's just like, if you were dead, oh well, so be it, you know, but if you're alive, this is the truth and you're gonna have to deal with it, right? You know, and all that stuff like that. And it's horrible. It's like a horrible like circumstance to come across, right? So it kind of makes you think like, all right, so what is he doing? Like everything that he's done to this point and what he'll have to do moving forward, is it still the right thing to do, right? And you know, as he's going through that dilemma, as an audience member, you're kind of going through the same dilemma too. My initial gut reaction, and as I was going through the movie, was like, well, fuck her. She needs to die too, then.
Right. Go, well, I'm
Yeah.
on this guy's side because he's the main character. Why are you not? You're a bad guy now. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Life's not that simple sometimes.
Right.
Interesting.
Right. Yeah. So, and the only thing I will say was like, it was unfortunate that the youngest son had to die the way he did. Like that. But then again, he was like, hey, look, if a little kid jumped on you and started stabbing you multiple times on your back, you're gonna need to react somehow, right? And that was like a very, very basic reaction.
I missed the part where the boy died, so maybe my sympathy meter isn't up high enough because I actually don't know exactly how the boy died. Here's what happened in that moment. So we have, before going back to the Nicole Kidman speech where she's saying that she was in on the betrayal of his father.
Hmm.
She kisses him at some point during that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yes. I'm thinking, how far is this going to go? And then she starts cackling as he backs away in a wild, good, evil laugh. Good job, Nicole Kidman. It's hard to pull that off. Later on, he's back in the mother's room, and he's going to have to kill her. He ends up having to kill her. The brother comes in. This is when I laughed inappropriately in that, and I've had it happen in a Tarantino movie. Don't judge me. Some people respond to bizarre, what did I just watch? I cannot believe that my ears and eyes just saw that, with nervous laughter. This tiniest boy jumps on this giant Viking man's back. It wasn't anything except the noise, and I know this is fucked up. I'm not saying it's funny. It just hit me, and like I was like so shocked by what I was watching. Just a
Yep.
million little knife stabs, and I'm going, what? No, and then Skarsgård going, ow, stop, ow, that kind of thing. I have to assume he threw the boy stat. I don't know what, but my reaction. I'm gonna try to do my best impression of the moment. I go, oh no, oh my god! I don't know if that blew out the microphone. I'm sorry. I did a squeal scream. Oh my gosh! The people around me had similar reactions, but they didn't vocalize it. I just go, I'm so sorry. Sorry, everyone. holding my head down, and that's when I look up and the boy's on the ground. I go, "Oh, this is sad now. Hope I didn't just ruin everyone's moment." But I was anyway, and that is after he has done so much murder, and he's starting to
Yeah.
become more blood-soaked over
Yeah.
time. It was getting to the point where, and I one of the only other directors, the last time it happened that I recall, Tarantino, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, when Brad Pitt's character chunks a soup can or the dog food can at somebody. I go, there's no way my brain can comprehend that violence. I'm so appalled and shocked and bewildered at the same time. I just like scream, laugh, yell, freak out moment thing in the theater.
Yeah.
I think I was the only person in this small theater who did that, but that's why I missed that scene. That is part of what got me into it, is a director doing high levels of nonstop intense action without explosions or gunfire or breaks or comedic relief. I do enjoy that. At some point I was thinking, is this movie doing a Mad Max style nonstop, like for the last however long, just going to be 30 straight minutes of run, stab, kill, stab, run, and like just heart pounding
Hmm.
nonstop. Got pretty close to those levels to where I'm like not quite shaking, but they did a great job of that high intensity action movie stuff.
Yeah.
No motorcycles, no car chase, nothing. It just man, shield, sword, a couple bow and arrows in the whole movie. That's it. And it was amazing action fighting choreography, in my opinion. And especially the way that, which we'll talk about the cinematography, camera work in a sec, but
Yeah.
especially the way that they handled that. Well done, well executed.
No, for sure. I mean, and I think if there was any criticism in this movie, not particularly from myself, but if I was explaining this movie to someone who maybe is not into this type of filmmaking, or not really into like the cinematic feel of a movie, and they just all they care about is the action points, this movie does have a lot of moments of exposition, right? But that's all part of the storytelling. You know, it's like, especially once they go into like the Norse myth portions of the movie, the conversations that he has, or not so much conversations, but listening to the foretelling of what is to be done. You know, like Bjork's character pretty much plays like this mystical witch that kind of like helps guide him in a way, or tells him like a future or whatever the case is, kind of like his like a fortune teller kind of thing like that. She's only in the movie for like maybe 5 minutes or so, but she sets kind of like the in-between point. Okay, this is where you've gone now, this is what you may have to do moving forward, and that's what kind of carries his journey on like after that. I think she was like brilliantly cast for that particular one role. I thought they were going to use more of her talents to maybe, because a lot of this movie was filmed in Iceland, and I thought they were going to use more of her talents to kind of help with some of the music and the score, because there were moments where they had, you know, like the celebrations and they're all dancing and frolicking in the forest, and they had like the singer who sounded like Bjork in certain aspects as she was singing. So I was like, did Bjork write that for her, or did she write this for the movie? I don't know. I didn't really get to see a lot of the credits, but you know, I thought she would have been used more in that aspect. But like I said, to go back to my main point, is the exposition is quite long at times, but that didn't bother me per se, you know. But I think for maybe a general audience, this might be the moments where they might doze off for a little bit, you know, and then wake up when something major happens, right? To go back to, so if that was your one moment of laughter, the one moment of laughter I had was when Ethan Hawke and the little boy version of Amleth was going through their whole ritual of, this is what everyone does when they're about ready to get, you know, to take on the helm eventually, and I'm going to teach you the ropes and all that. And Willem Dafoe's character, at first I thought was a jester. Because when he first shows up on screen, he does this very raunchy, inappropriate joke about the queen, and about like, oh, she's looking for the stiff rod of the brother or something like that, right? Which again, foretelling, right? Which is kind of interesting foretelling there. But Willem Dafoe's character pretty much is not only that, but I guess he's also like a seer in a way, or kind of like this ceremonious guy who kind of helps whenever they need like these kind of spiritual moments or rituals that they have to do. He's kind of like the master of that, right? And as they're going through all this, he's telling them both that you're a dog, but you have to prove to me that you're a human, right? And when Ethan Hawke is approached with that question, he burps in front of him. And then when he approaches the boy farts. And I don't know why, but Eggers has a thing with flatulence, because we saw a whole bunch of that in The Lighthouse. And then when this came up, and this is pretty early on in the movie, I laughed out loud, because again, it's like bringing back the flatulence from The Lighthouse, and I was just like really dying from it. So that was like my big laugh out loud moment for me, because I just thought it was very ridiculous. But you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. That was a moment, and it's kind of the thing, you don't see it coming in an indie epic Viking whatever, but it was in there, and it was. I liked that scene. The cinematography, which I'm going to talk about now, and storytelling, because what I'm thinking about, the character's name Amleth, which I was putting this together while we're talking about this movie and the plot. Sounds like Hamlet. It is Hamlet.
Right. Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people know that. Amleth is a figure in medieval Scandinavian legend, the direct inspiration of the character of Prince Hamlet, the hero of William Shakespeare's tragedy. And I was going, oh, right, this guy, dad, father, looking for purpose, kind of thing. And so, anyway, that I thought was interesting. I don't disagree about the exposition. However, a revenge movie, you gotta have the exposition. I love a good revenge tale. I'm not as big on, anytime we're in the territory of fantasy, medieval, Vikings, witches, shamans, all that, I usually am not as interested in that genre. It took me years to even try Game of Thrones, just because I'm not into that. This one, I enjoyed it. There's the very intense human story of revenge. And anytime, I love a good revenge movie so much. Anytime you do that, you have to have the backstory and some exposition. One thing I thought was so well done about this movie is, you mentioned it earlier, not giving Alexander Skarsgård a ton of dialogue might not be the worst decision in the world. There's one moment where he's forced to like scream, cry, and I was like, this guy's not pulling it off. Most of the movie he pulls it off because he's just doing intense Viking stuff, and dude's good at baring his teeth and screaming.
Yeah.
Great, a couple great moments of that. What I thought was so well done about this movie is the combination of storytelling, cinematography, camera work, etc. I'm not going to nerd out too hard. If anyone wants to, I would love to see you in the comment section. I will reply. We can geek out together. But the two things I think are worth mentioning that I saw it one time, just is now out. There's the black and white aspect and the way that things are put on the screen. The black and white was well done because it's used to enhance the story. I'm going on a limb here because I've only seen it one time, but I'm taking notes during the movie and realizing patterns that are happening. It's black and white when he is most hopeless, and it is colorful and more that computer generated CGI stuff when he is most aligned with his purpose. The whole movie is about purpose. There's a scene when Ethan Hawke leaves the mother with the son, and they're going to do the wolf thing, and I actually thought someone stepped in front of the projector because they're just black silhouettes in a black and white snowy night, and that it was a beautiful image. I go, wow, I'm not sure I've seen anything like this in a while. And that's when they're kind of like heading towards leaving the home and the mother, and heading more towards away from their original purpose. There's a few other moments where he's riding a boat, or lost at sea, or lost in the snow. It's especially late at night where it does more of the black and white imagery stuff. On the other hand, it's when he touches his father's wound and sees the CGI connection to the past. And then it might be another moment though with Bjork where he's essentially hallucinating about his lineage, his bloodline, purpose in life. And those are these very more colorful computer generated images that we then later see. The most colorful part of the movie, to my mind, or at least like the most fanciful color, is he's laying down naked with Anya Taylor-Joy's character. They've just conceived child. At some point, he touches her where he tastes her blood and he sees that she has children. And that's when he's most, again, aligned with the past, the future, his direction in life, his destiny. So I thought that was well done. I want to watch it again and notice stuff like that. I'm sure there's a ton I missed. The other one I thought was really nice, and it struck me multiple times, is the symmetry of his character. And again, at some point during the movie, I go, every time this happens on the screen, it's when he's aligned with his purpose. They show his character in the middle of the frame and perfectly symmetrical between left and right. You also have a very symmetrical man with Alexander Skarsgård. Great casting there. And whatever's behind him is everything it's a symmetrical image, and it happens when he's about to do something that helps fulfill that purpose. He's about to go kill the right person at the right time. He's about to say, oh, I need to go back towards my path of vengeance. That I thought was well done. At some point, and it kept happening over and over again. Every single time I go, okay, I'm assuming this is what's about to happen. Yep, that's what happens. He's about to do something awesome or in the way of purpose. Love that. Can't wait to rewatch it just for those things. And this is what we get when we have a masterful director doing badass action movie. Loved it.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Great camera work.
Yeah, no, and to add to that too, like I do feel like that's a very Eggers way of filmmaking. You know, like if you look back again in his two other movies, you see many moments like that where main character on screen, right in center, and you know they're thinking about something or they're about to do something. And another thing that I love that he does is that during some of those moments, then in not a cut, but in a pan, you go to see what that person is looking at or what that person hears. And then off screen, you see all of a sudden that character going towards whatever that main objective is. And cinematography wise, like in camera work wise, like that is like some of the most beautiful shots that you could ever do and I could ever see on screen. Because it builds up to that moment. You know, you see the main character there on screen and then you see him like look off to a distance. Like, well, what is he looking at? And then you pan over to what that thing is, and then you see all of a sudden them walking towards it. I love stuff like that. So, again, this is just another great movie to enjoy the craft of movie making and to see what is possible with, perfect cinematography, editing, or just unique ways of visually telling a story while mixing it in with all the other things that are happening throughout the movie, you know. And I do love how you would get reminded about the king tree, as they refer to, which is the lineage of the family and all that, and how they use that to also progress the story. And I did love that moment where he, you know, basically notices the cut on Anya Taylor-Joy's neck, kisses it for comfort, and then he gets flashed back with, oh my God, wait, she's pregnant with twins, right? Yeah.
I didn't want to tell you yet. I was worried it would throw you off, or you know, and it did exactly that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like, and it's great. And then again, that it forces him to make another decision, right? Where it's like, all right, I can just hang out with her, live our life free, and raise these two great kids, right?
Yeah.
Or knowing that these guys, my crazy ass mom and my uncle, is going to find us eventually because they're going to want to kill these two kids because they're the ones who are going to eventually possibly rule. And I do love how they put the emphasis on the daughter on the tree line as being the queen, kind of in reference to the mom, right? It's like, well, this future queen is a threat to possibly my mom, right? So what should I do? Do I hang out, or do I just go back and finish what I'm supposed to do? Or at least what I originally thought I was going to do. And was that the right way? Well, it depends on how you interpret it, right? Because at the end of the movie, again, we're in spoiler territory now, he doesn't make it. But he does but he does finish his job. Revenge is full out, executed. The mom is dead, their kids are dead, and the uncle dies. But unfortunately, he dies along with the uncle, right? But the last things that he sees in his mind is that, but you know what? my future kids are safe, and my wife, or not even wife, but my woman is all nice and safe, and they can now carry on my lineage moving forward, and I did my purpose, right, and all that. So it was kind of like one of those bittersweet endings. But again, another reason, and you brought it up, the whole Hamlet reference and all that. That's why I said it's very Shakespearean, because it is very Shakespearean, the storyline. It's very, there's a lot of tragedy, there's a lot of conflict, and things don't always end on a positive note, right? So, but it's a type of storytelling where at the end it's fulfilling, even though the character that we were supposed to be rooting for and love throughout didn't make it. Almost like Braveheart. Like the whole thing with Braveheart, where
Braveheart, what? It just came out. I haven't see it yet. What are you doing?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I'm sorry. My bad. No, my bad. I'm skipping. I'm getting way advanced, way ahead of myself here. But no. All jokes aside, yeah, I got a screening for. I actually saw it right before we filmed this, so I meant to send you the link, but yeah. But I mean, very similar to that story. Like, we follow this guy's journey throughout the whole movie, and tragic ending. He doesn't make it. But again, it's what his actions meant for everyone around him moving forward, right? And I guess in this case, it's securing his lineage and making sure that Anya Taylor-Joy's character is safe in the long run, right?
Yeah, I think that's I don't have any other takeaways except the revenge story. This ending, it's essentially a statement of nihilism or the future. Like, because you could say it's a story of him fulfilling his purpose. I viewed it as the director says there is no purpose, there's no right or wrong, there is no good guy, bad guy. Life isn't that simple. You can spend your whole life trying to do one thing. And he did avenge his father's death. He did not get to become king, which was kind of his original purpose as a prince. And then he does get to save his bloodline, we assume. Also, Anya Taylor-Joy's character is just on a boat with a crew of piratey Viking dudes. You're going to end up where? I don't know. I hope she's fine. I'm sure she's fine, right?
Yeah.
Surely,
I mean, yeah, being the only female on a boat filled with guys who probably live on the sea. Oh yeah, there's nothing wrong there.
I hope the sequel is she murdered all of them, knowing what would happen, and then ends up like starting a colony in wherever she ends up, and his bloodline just repeat history. I think this is essentially one of those movies that says all the mythology stuff. Am I the only one who got Duel on Mustafar vibes from the scene on the fire? I really wanted the no moment.
Great call. I love it.
Thank you. I couldn't get it out of my head. I really wanted them to just use a couple lines from there.
I have the high ground.
Yeah, exactly. And here's what I do want to ask on the ending, though. Did you think Amleth won when we saw the uncle's head fall to the ground? Because I did not see that there was a sword in him until I go, oh, I fell to the ground. I literally started clapping, and I realized no one else was clapping. I look up, I go, oh, he's our man is dead. Did you know that in real time?
No, because I think this is part of the visual aspect of it. Your eyes were drawn to the head falling off, right? You didn't exactly see the uncle's sword spear him through, right? So my eyes were focused on the uncle and the head falling to the ground. Then once I had that process, I looked over, I was like, oh shit, no, this guy didn't make it either.
Oh,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm actually wondering if, because I need to rewatch that scene in particular. I don't know that we could see it, like if a billow of smoke blew by and blurred out the sword or something. A lot of those moments early on with the King Prince farting wolf scene. We get a bunch of moment with Bjork where there's like, you're kind of lost in it. It's almost like psychedelic.
Yeah.
You're in a field of smoke, steam, fire, whatever. And there's other moments where it's a clear green field, skies are open. It was beautiful. and there's other times where you're just lost in the natural world of that,
Right.
of the lava. And that one, I did not know that he was dead until, okay, there's a sword in our man. Um,
Right.
I think at the end of the day, we're talking about the ending, we're talking about the plot, and my final thoughts. I think it was a beautiful love story. That is
Hmm.
something that I did not expect going into it. And then we get
Right.
to near the end, he's obviously emotional and saying, "Oh, never mind on my purpose. I want to kiss you and love you and take you to the
Yeah.
movies and let's chill." And then it becomes a purpose movie, and it's almost like the director is saying, "Life is meaningless. You can have best laid plans. Good luck, and at the end of the day, you might die." There's still that aspect of him passing along his bloodline just in time. Like, boy
Hmm.
barely got it in before he passed.
Yeah.
So there's something beautiful there. I can kind of see it going either way, but in general, I don't know. I still it throws me because you're so used to seeing a movie, knowing who the good guy is, who the bad guy is. That's the traditional thing, and this we're kind of turned it on our heads here, which we get a lot nowadays, especially with all the HBO, The Sopranos, Boardwalk Empire, all that stuff. Oh, the bad guy
Yeah.
is the main character stuff. This one, it was more, no, there isn't necessarily good and bad. Death
Right.
happens. You can do whatever you want, and life might get in the way. You can be the most badass Viking dude. Kill a whole ton of people, and you just get distracted for 1 second. Look at Anya Taylor-Joy's beautiful face as she's running away, and then you're next thing you know, you're beaten into submission and then
Yeah.
tied up. Um, I I liked that aspect to it. If someone wants a clean James Bond type of the good guy always wins thing, there I don't this movie might frustrate them. You
Yeah.
do get enough of that philosophy kind of stuff in it to where it wasn't just a dumb boy bloody Viking action movie, and instead we get some depth to it, some love story, and some thought on what is I literally am biking home, heart racing still from the bloody action, going, what is my life's purpose? What is right and wrong? How do I know? And I guess I just have to keep going forward.
Yeah. No, no, well said. Yeah, like again, to close things off on my thoughts on it, like I think we said a lot here. I do love how you called out a lot of the movie and storylines based off of purpose, right? And I think when you tie that along with that notion of revenge, I think in a way, this movie is also telling you that revenge is not something that you should have harken over you for this long and take over, because revenge can go one or two ways, right? You could either get so fulfilled and things go your way, or things could go horribly wrong because you're just so enthralled with getting even. And we've seen revenge movies in the past. You like to bring up Tarantino. I mean, Kill Bill was a whole full-on revenge movie,
Mhm.
where yes, things worked out at the end, but it could have gone another way, really. And at what cost, right? At what cost are you going to go forward with all that? So I think, along with purpose, revenge, it's a reminder that revenge is not something that you should have taken over yourself, because in a way it's like a drug where you can't stop unless it's totally 100% done.
Mhm.
But then at what cost, and is it worth carrying over when you have another option where you could just let things go and just enjoy a better life at the end of the day, right? So I think it's lots of great like little meanings here and takeaways depending on the individual that watches it. But I think that again leads to great storytelling at the end of the day, and that's why I think both of us, we enjoy this movie a lot, and we would love if you guys did as well. But if you didn't, or if this is a movie that you're still kind of on the fence about, curious to hear about your thoughts about the Northman in the comments and all that. Let us know. Is this a movie you've enjoyed? Obviously, you've watched it if you were watching through the spoilers and all that, or if you didn't care and you just wanted to hear us talk about it. Have we convinced you maybe that this is a movie that you might be wanting to see and check out for yourself? So, as always, leave your thoughts in the comments, your feelings about the movie in general. Is this something you would recommend to other people as well? But with that being said, I think we're done with this episode, and definitely do check out the Northman. But before we head out, Blake, where can people find you online?
Go to Letterboxd, download the app. My screen name is Blake Wolf, BLAKEWOLFSSN. Blake Wolf's screen name, Blake Wolf SSN on Letterboxd. You'll see me give The Northman 5 stars on Letterboxd as of last night.
Nice. And as always, you could find me through all the handles you see on the screen, Lowkey Geek on Twitter, Instagram, what have you, and all that. If you enjoyed this episode, again, great way to show your support for free at no cost to you is to hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Hit that notification bell so you get notified every time something new is uploaded on the channel. For those of you who are returning, thank you so much for watching along again, and we appreciate all your support and for listening. Audio listeners, you could find us on podcast platforms of your choosing. Just look for the Lowkey Geek channel there, and you could find the episodes, and make sure to download and rate. Leave a good rating. But with that said, I'm Rene. That's Blake. This has been Movie Time, once again reviewing The Northman, and we'll catch all y'all next time. Peace. Valhalla!